Black codes. What is it? It's the spark of the thought that takes root. The aspect of free thought in a world that tries to stop the spread. 10 toes down, front line for the people. We speak life to those that can and will hold that power. Of course, if it don't apply, let it fly. But if you take offense, then obviously we're talking to you. So welcome, have a seat, and join the discussion, because class is in session. Black Codes, Foundation 101.
Hi everybody, I want to welcome everybody to Foundation 101 presents the Black Codes. I'm Frank Starfire.
Listen, we can't just I'm like, all right, here, action. Everybody's like,
you guys have to collect them.
I didn't say I was a smart kid. I just said I was crazy.
Seven though.
I was not.
Like, who are you around? Like, hold on. When did you see? When was that shit deep? Like,
I was reading weird shit from a very young age, so
nobody coped that.
yeah, no.
Yeah, what you going
You
through?
wasn't trying to understand. Fuck this week your life.
All right, let's break it down for you real quick. Now, Frank is from a very strange and tumultuous time. All right,
A different dimension.
a very complete, another different dimension.
Cocaine crack era.
Exactly. Now, why nobody I know did cocaine or crack?
Now it makes sense.
Now, why none of my family did cocaine or crack? The very first book I read was a book called Lady Boss, written by a lady named Danielle Steele. Now, I was 3 years old. Okay, so this is a very adult book. Now, while I did not know everything that I was reading, I understood the grander aspects of what the fuck was going on. So, tie that into all the other books that I just decided to pick up and read
And
because they were
free.
No, they were just. I'm a Leo. I can't help that, but no, the books were while they were adult books. Like they never. My mom's no parents gonna take books away from their kid. Right. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't care what I was reading, and I just absorbed it all. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think that's something that we do enough of nowadays? We force our children to find entertainment in other places rather than TV.
I mean, it wasn't so. I mean, I watched TV too. It wasn't that anything was ever taken away from me, but books were my escape, and nobody ever questioned what would happen. You know, nobody ever questions the kid reading a book. You know what I'm saying? You're always worried about the kids that aren't reading books, but the ones that's reading, you never. But maybe you should question what the hell this young boy is reading. You know what I'm saying?
That's what they're saying about YouTube nowadays. It's like right now, that world with the books, that's like YouTube right now. You put your kid, they watching some fucking They're watching Mickey Mouse and shit like that. But then next thing you know, you walk off like 25 minutes later, it's some fucking dark gloom. It's a bear killing a kid, and some like the bear got titties. Like it's weird shit, and it's like. And then it's like, not for nothing, how did it get all the way there? Like, for example, music. When you put one video, it has a certain thing that it's a database where it plays all of these videos that's associated with that. So now, how do you get from Mickey Mouse to a bear with titties killing a baby? Like,
right.
And
just for the audience, want to introduce my man Jay Weathers.
Jay Weathers.
Go off. You know what I mean?
Clap it up.
Today. But you made a good point, because who's really policing what our kids is watching? Because there was a couple, I guess you could say, like little controversy, little scams in some of these old Disney films when they were promoting sex at a young age
and anti-Semitism.
And at that age, the mind is most impressionable.
Yeah.
So it's absorbing all of this information and doesn't even realize it is. But once you start seeing it reinforced by the age of 14 and 15 and 16, then you start bringing back all of these thoughts that you had when you was watching Disney Channel. You saw Lion King, and there was sex that went into air subliminally. You know what I mean?
And see, I'm gonna hold you to that, because like one of the big things that's going on right now, people don't pay attention to what's the kids watching, what's he reading, because they'll put them in front of anything to make them stop crying. And I think the way we live in now is there's so much things going on at a time. You're like, all right, look, I don't got time. This baby's crying. Maybe I got to go to school. Maybe I got bills to pay. I got to get to work. You work 2 jobs. You got this kid. He's watching, or she's watching TV, and then everything. People don't talk to their children as much as they think they do.
Right.
No, I don't think anybody realizes that. Like a lot, these kids have questions, and other kids will answer those questions whether it's wrong or right. And then you got the kid doing what he's doing now.
But I ain't gonna lie. Now, what that fostered in me from reading those books was just a way to learn new things. Like, you'd be surprised how much fact is in fiction in order to make the fiction plausible. You know what I'm saying? So once you learned how to differentiate fact from fiction. You know what I'm saying? Now, most people aren't getting that cognitive ability until they're well into their teens and shit. I had it at 6 and 7. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not to say I was totally well adjusted, obviously, but I had a better idea and understanding of exactly what the world was really like as a young child than most do. You know what I'm saying? And this is well before there was a YouTube or an internet. I had the Encyclopedia Britannica, and all that shit is wrong. So, you know what I'm saying?
So how do we explain to our kids now, like the current affairs that we're going through? How do I explain to my future kids that Trump was in office for a certain amount of time? How do I explain to them that?
Be honest.
If I'm going to build this nationalist, because I'm not.
Right.
If I was going to build some pride of the United States in my kids, how do I explain, how they reacted to the situation in Houston or the situation in Florida or the situation in Puerto Rico?
Right.
If we see these things, if our kids are only picking up a certain amount of information from a certain select, parts of influences, parts of media, how do I explain to them some of the real things that are going on in the
Well, then what you do is you tell them that the president... first of all, you teach them what exactly the president is. He's a figurehead. He's the CEO of the corporation. Doesn't have as much power as people might think, but he's supposed to be the face of the country. All right, and then you show him, and then you tell your kids that the real strength in America is in her people. Look at how these people stepped up and helped. You know what I'm saying? That's the American system that you instill within your kids.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Now, do you think with this, because right now I know people in Puerto Rico going through some things, people in Mexico going through some things. Do you think that we responded in the correct way in Puerto Rico?
I mean, I think the people did.
Right.
Government, not so much, but that's part of the course. The government is designed to be as ass hatchery as possible, like as backwards as possible.
Hold on, I gotta disagree with you just a little bit. No, I'm disagree with you. Only for the simple fact that the government may not be handling it correctly, but since we do listen, we have to play the sides of both sides. We have to understand they did do something. They definitely did. The way they did it, hell no. And I think it's completely messed up because there's people in Puerto Rico right now, they can't get to their goods. Right. It's right on the dock. As Americans, we can't help them. Right. They don't want nobody to help them. It's just that those are still people. We got part of America that don't even believe that they're Americans. Puerto Rico and America.
Let's put it on the table, though. Puerto Rico is a territory of the United States.
It is a territory, and a few years ago, they actually voted on a referendum whether or not to become the 51st state, and they voted against it. Okay, you're right. Now, listen, I don't think that I respect the people for wanting to do what they did. I can't say, hey, you were wrong, look where it got you, because that's fucked up. The truth of the matter is, they are the 51st state, whether they want to admit it or not. You know what I'm saying? And the truth is, they need help. And the people are doing the right thing by helping them. The government does what it always does, sits its thumb up its ass, and waits to see what the polls are saying. You know what I'm saying? They want to talk and talk and talk and talk, meanwhile people are actually doing something.
And you had an interesting perspective on the government's role in all of this. Right?
It's like, for example, like right now we're talking about the assistance in helping Puerto Rico. A lot of people don't know that there's a certain law that prohibits any other boat, any other plane that's not a plane of the United States to drop off packages or drop off assistance to Puerto Rico. Because if they do, then they're going against the grain. Right. You know what I mean? And then stuff like that makes you think, all right, cool. Puerto Rico is just a little bit bigger than LA. Right. So right now, for example, what if LA was underwater? What if LA got fucked up?
Well, LA was Flint.
Exactly. And you're restricting other people that could help to help. And at the same time, you're the same president that put Puerto Rico in debt in over more than $33 million. Right. Then when you went to run for president, everybody else forgot about it. And now you're saying that the financial infrastructure of Puerto Rico is messed up and that they were doing bad before, so now they need help from the United States, even though they're part of the United States.
He defaulted on his loan that he got for his damn golf course.
It's crazy. But it's shit like that, and then you ask, okay, cool. Puerto Rico's not just the only place that has this going on. Right. Don't forget about the Caribbean islands. Right. Let's not forget about Japan right now. Let's not forget about Mexico.
Right.
Tsunamis, tornadoes, and earthquakes. And now the whole thing right now is we don't know whether it's really the government that's doing shit like this, because people don't know that there's a machine called it's the heart machine. High active frequency. You figure out the rest. You feel me? But I'm gonna keep it at that. It's the heart machine, and it controls. Oh, it's so funny.
So it can control. There's a movie coming out about that.
So you're telling me that there is a possibility that some of these natural disasters could be man-made?
Could be man-made. It's like 50%.
Right.
Could be man-made. And it's crazy because all of the information that backs it is really out there. You know what I mean? And this machine has been around for decades. For decades. The European nation didn't know about it, and they didn't, and they figured that it could be used as a weapon. You know what I mean? So now that it's funny that the abilities of that machine can cause hurricanes, it can cause tsunamis, and it can cause earthquakes. And now look at what's happening in certain parts of countries, in certain parts of the world, where we can be. Where we can
so there's
dominate.
two sides of that argument, right?
Exactly.
So there's the man-made. It's us impacting the environment, right?
Yeah.
For political agendas, for
global domination.
Yeah, there's a lot of different
like
things. Population control.
Exactly.
We can talk about things like that. But then there's, I'm a very spiritual person. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like there's certain things that we've done to the world, our impact on the environment. Because sometimes we downplay our actual influence and role in a lot of things that happen in nature, i.e., some of the animals that's going extinct, some of the migration patterns that are changing. To
be speaking of that, it's crazy. It was this whole segment from August 28th of this year to September 3rd where there were fucking frogs dropping in London. Now the crazy thing was it sounds ridiculous, but when there's over 20 people that are doing daily things that you do in your natural habitat, and then you take out your phone or you're already recording and there's frogs dropping. You're driving your car, you see frogs dropping. You're outside the window, you see frogs dropping. You're playing in the park with your kids, you see frogs dropping, and frogs are dropping all over London.
But the mainstream media is not going to pick up.
Exactly. That's why it was only up there for 4 days. From August 28th to September 3rd, the videos was going viral, and then after that, it was no longer up there anymore.
So let me ask the panel: how much of this is man-made, as in artificial, or man-made as in our influence on our natural environment? Because we don't sustain a natural harmony with our nature.
Well, no, because we wantonly kill precious energy resources, meaning human beings killing each other. You know what I'm saying? That's sustainability of the earth. That energy sustains the earth. We sap the oil from it. Look, man. I mean, let's be honest here. If I take all the oil out of your car, what the hell is your car's engine going to do? It's going to overheat, shake, backfire, and blow up. Well, look at planet Earth.
I like the way
you know what I'm saying? Think about it. It rotates on an axis, and I know there are shifting plates within. So that tells me that those plates may need that oil for lubrication so it can keep doing what it's supposed to do. Once you take that vital nutrient out, whether it comes from the dinosaurs or wherever the hell it comes from, once you take that vital nutrient out, it does exactly what the plant's going to do. It's fighting back.
Right.
So, just to answer that, I think that this is Mother Nature's answer back to the world.
Sure.
This is a reflection.
Yeah.
Like, just like any type of negative, just like we put good energy into things and it'll give us good things back, this is the answer to negative energy. Hurricanes and everything. My thing with HAARP, the machines do create weather destruction, but I think that, actually, I even said that incorrectly. But about the machine, I don't think it can control the weather. I think it can give it a boost, though. Those hurricanes that are, was it Category 4s and we haven't seen those in forever.
7 hurricanes.
7. And it's just like it was one after the other. And the way a hurricane is built is hot air and cold air coming together. So these are destroying, decimating people.
Well, look at where they started. Look at the point of where those hurricanes started. The east coast of Africa. Look at the rotation in the way the hurricanes maneuver throughout the planet. You know what I'm saying? They start in the same place all the time, and those winds build up. You know what I'm saying? And then the first places they touch is where? The Caribbean.
Okay.
And then they come up to the Americas.
But a hurricane has never made a Z before. This is the first time in history.
Right.
This is the first time in history ever documented that a hurricane
went to a Z. Earth is really bad.
And then on top of that, for me, the way that I'm seeing it is for the financial backing of the government. Think about it. We get it fucked up because we're born on this side. 80% of the world is not doing this. They don't got lights. They have a no waste policy when it comes to eating.
Right.
There's no refrigerators. Right. You have to go out, catch an animal or buy an animal. It got to get cut up and cooked right in front of you. You got to eat from the skin to the bone because there's no garbages. Right. You know what I mean? The natural way of life that we have in the first world, because this is the first world. Mm-hmm. So for us to be born in the first world, we're fortunate of mad shit. You feel me? That's why taking oil, using it for gas and this and that, that's to build the first world. Right. But the other sides of the world is like
the third world.
Yeah,
as they call it.
You got the second one and you got the third world. Like out there, there's nothing. You feel me? They living off the land. There's still hundreds of tribes out there in the jungle, in the Amazon that we look at them as animals. You feel me? Right. And it's crazy. But think about it. All of these hurricanes and shit like that, where does those hit? See, for me, I look deep into shit. I know that in China there's a whole domination going on between China and Africa. Mm-hmm. I know in Mexico there's shit going on, and all of the hurricanes and tsunamis are hitting places that didn't want a federal bank inside of their countries. Mm-hmm. So now that they're fucked up, now they need money from somewhere. Now that they're fucked up, now that they need help, and it's funny that they need to be dependent off the United States. Mm-hmm. You feel me? So that's why. So now for me, it's like hurricanes and da. But okay, cool. All of those places, the earthquakes and the tsunamis. Oh, those are places that was in big, huge resistance against the government. Those are places that was in huge, that wasn't in financial deficit until now. And now you need help from us. Okay, so you feel me? So that's why I feel like all of this shit is getting put together by the government. Right. You feel me? Spirituality and all that, cool, I get you, but science and this and that, I'm more into science. You feel me? Like,
let me attempt. Let me attempt to bridge the gap between the two, because I have a understanding about life, right? So for me personally, there's a rule number one. And my rule number one is the how and why don't matter. Mm-hmm. As we go through life and we start to witness certain experiences, we often question, okay, why did this happen? Well, why did this happen? But then you're reaching towards the past, or you're gonna ask the question, what are the repercussions of these actions? And then you're reaching towards the future. So if we look at the very instant right now, how and why, it doesn't matter how these things happen. It doesn't matter why they were caused. But if you look at exactly what happened in these places, right? Let's forget about the government. Let's forget about the natural implications. What is it doing to the people right now? And I think that's one of the things that you touched on. Now, we could sit here and say it's the government making these things because some of these places didn't have a Federal Reserve in place, and Rothschild don't have a reach in certain areas of the world that they would like to have a reach into. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. But at the same time, what is it doing to the people? And I always bring this up, especially in these first segments, about the spiritual warfare, psychological warfare. What type of understanding of the world do you now have when you see certain areas being destroyed by natural disasters, right? It becomes a fear-based living. Now, for anyone that wants to take over the world, for anybody that wants to have population control, for anyone that wants to spread their influence, the number one thing you got to do is put fear in people's hearts. Mm. Now, why are we looking at all of this coverage on the news of certain places in the world being attacked? If you want to bring it to that third eye view. So we got all these videos about Puerto Rico and Mexico being attacked, and Florida and Houston, when there's been hurricanes and earthquakes in Haiti. Right. A couple years ago, there was a tsunami in Japan. Mm-hmm. Millions of people having their lives lost. Now, we didn't hear about it, but we're hearing about these things. Why? You know what I'm saying? And the why doesn't go any further than what you're actually looking at. It's having people displaced and having people be affected on such a large scale that it creates fear in you. And how many different people, how many different organizations, how many different governments are capitalizing on the fear that they put into people?
Think about Haiti, like you said, Haiti and Japan. Before the earthquake in Japan / tsunami shit that hit Japan, they didn't need a financial backing from the government. After that happened, we basically owned certain parts of Japan. Haiti, the Clintons owned Haiti. After the shit that happened with Haiti, the Clintons basically owned Haiti. Anything that happens in Haiti, most people don't know right now. Anything that happens in Haiti, you have to go through the Clintons. The Clinton Foundation. You feel me? And that happened after. You feel me? Right, you feel me? I feel you, but you saying certain names that's backing me up. Like, I bet, like, oh yeah, after that shit happened, look at this. Because I feel like at the end of the day, it is global domination. I feel like at the end of the day, this ain't for the past 400 years. This ain't nothing. This been going on for thousands of years. It's like to put it like that. I just feel like this is the biggest weapon that's being harnessed, and it's making other nations talk. Like, it's like, cause think about it. We're only 4 countries. It's only 4 countries that can do what we do. There's only 4 countries that exist in the first world for real. You know what I mean? Like, and there's over 140 other countries that exist, but only 4 countries got lights and got cars and got this and got that on the dominant scale. You know what I mean? And the ones that don't, that got a lot of resistance, that people are getting killed, you know, and not like that. And I'm just saying, like, it just so happened, it just, to me, it's funny and it's ironic. Not funny literally, but it's just ironic that shit is happening like that, you know?
See, and I think, just to bring all that into situation, I think this is the one that people talking about. Like, a while back, or if y'all want to just think about it, one thing that we really focus on, I don't care what anybody says, is either 9/11 or the, wow.
Anything, Boston Marathons.
Dang. No, World Trade, no. Jewish people. I really
Holocaust?
The Holocaust.
Wow.
Obvious. I don't know where that came. It's just don't do that to us, please. Nah, in reality, like, there's still a lot of people that still don't believe that the Holocaust happened. Because the way they look at it is, what if it was a test? What if they wanted to see how many people could you really kill? Take off the
eugenics experiment?
It's just like all those experiments, everything. Because we kept all those files. We studied those files till today because like it was just like, wow, Hitler pulled off all this and yada yada. But years later, I don't know if I think Jesse Ventura, he spoke of the concentration camps in America. So it's just like, these are things that the practice zones, everything like the hurricanes that's killing people. We don't know how to grow a plant. If I put you in the middle of the forest, could you make it out?
Right.
Nobody. The kids don't know anything. They don't. If it got seeds, that is not the fruit I want. And it's just like these kids don't understand. Like cooking food. We put so much strength in that title, chef this, chef that. All you have to do is cook some vegetables, do this, survive. We always used to eat to survive. Now we don't know how to eat at all unless we can take a picture of it.
Well, that's because we don't practice the alchemy that we used to practice.
But we don't even know that it's known as alchemy. We look at alchemy as devil worship.
Right.
And that's the thing.
We have to change the word. We have to change the weaponization of the words that we choose to use.
Right, and stop making them weapons. And this is why I mean, like, communication is key. Because now people don't know how to talk to each other. People can't even associate at a party without a cell phone. You can't even look somebody in the eye on the street without a cell phone in your hand because you don't understand dang, why they looking at me like that? I just want to talk to you, bro. Or if I want to ask you for the time, people take serious offense to that. Like, no, don't ask me nothing. Let me be on my way. I just came from New York. And that's exactly how it was. Nobody would even look at each other. I had a book bag. Dude was surprised when I moved my book bag so he could sit.
Right.
So it's just like...
Well, it's because manners aren't...
important anymore.
It's not even that they're not important. They're not taught. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not given basic moral graces anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you know, first thing you do when you enter a room, you're supposed to speak. Right? You know what I'm saying? So the first thing I do, what up, gentlemen? How are you? You know? Whatever's going on, tell me, you know, because... That's the genuine.
I think that goes. I don't know because I feel like that depending on how you came up. Like for you, you said when you come into a room, like certain places in Asia, certain place. My friend he go up in Asia, and when you walk into a room, you don't speak. You look and you look, but you it's certain things. Yeah,
to be honest with you, just like speaking on like black culture, and this is just something that I've noticed. It's like when you say you're because I've actually experienced this in the last couple of weeks. So you're a new person on the job, you know what I mean, and you come in and you having an understanding, knowledge of self. Like me myself, I don't mean to come off as arrogant. I don't mean to come off as rude, but there's a lot of situations where I don't speak unless spoken to, and that's because of me knowing that okay, my voice doesn't need to be heard right now. This has had nothing in reflection of you or where you are or who your stance is or what your stance is or anything like that. But me walking into the room, okay, let me be quiet. Let me observe first before I speak. Now that may be based on the culture that you were raised in. Right. That might be taken as a certain type of way. It might be taken as rude or disrespectful. But that's culture. Like I see that as cultural understanding. Like not everyone is gonna understand black culture, and not everyone's gonna understand Asian culture. All you got to do is respect the difference in culture. You see what I'm saying? And and one of the things that if you read the book The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. One of the 4 agreements is don't take anything personal. Right. You know what I mean? And it's tough for us. It's tough for us because this is the society that we live in. Everything is meant to be taken personal. You know what I mean? Everything is put out there so you can take it personal. It's a bait to get you to react in a certain type of way. But if we live that way, if we don't take things personally, then we have a different understanding of different cultures and different how you etiquette. You know what I'm saying? Our different understandings of etiquette. But me as a black male, my first thing is hold on. Let me not speak. Let me see what's going on in this environment before I start to, give out too much energy and too much, investment into this. Because that's how I call it. It's energy investment into a reality. Like if I walk into a room, I walked into somebody's reality.
Right.
How much time and energy am I putting into it? I'm here. Okay, cool. How much am I going to give of me to this place? You know what I'm saying? And that's just how I read it. But not everybody gonna read it like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's not for them to. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the cultural understanding that you're raised with or that you teach within your culture. So we just gotta understand each other.
Right. And see, and it's all energy. We all run into that same cycle. And I think what we're definitely doing right now is separating ourselves as a people.
Right.
Like everybody needs a label, and I think labels are for tools.
Right.
Like as a person, and to me, what's happening now, that's why we keep forming a stronger label. Like no, I'm black, Hispanic, blah, blah, blah. They all exist. These people exist, but now it's just like whoa. Nah, I want to be light skinned. Like, dude, you're black. Now I want to be light skinned. I want to be honey.
Some of us just
I want to
can't
be yellow, red. And it's just like, dude, what's wrong with who you are?
Right.
And I feel like we've accepted that. And I think that's a problem, to just accept that we're nobodies. I think
but you're everybody.
It's like, I'm nobody, I'm nothing, and because of that, I'm everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you're a fly on the wall, because you take that standpoint, that makes you everything. That makes you omnipresent. You know what I'm saying? The fact that you can stand up and have your hands back and like, no, I'm just going to be a fly on the wall. I'm just going to observe everything.
Right.
That makes you a part of everything. Because everything is going to react with you and you are going to react with everything. It's like a mirroring effect. You know what I mean?
The life of the tree.
Hey, yo,
Life tree. It's a tree. It's gonna be a tree, man. It's gonna be a tree no matter what. And that's so forceful. Like, and I feel like we've even lost that as a people. Like, nature matters. Nature matters.
But I feel like it's like a fence, man. Like, it's like, for example, that's referring to color. Okay, cool. Some people want to be, I'm mixed and this and that and this and that, but on the other side of the fence, there's a whole body of people that believe that, okay, cool, black isn't a color. You feel me? It's just the essence of which all color derives from. You know what I mean? And when you want to go back to certain shit, even before Comedic languages, that was the original person, original man. But then for some people, that's what they go by. But then you have the new world, and you have still certain things now where they don't see it like that. So.
Must be president.
Nah, that's the government.
That's the government.
Say some shit. Hold on.
Word. They can't keep us quiet.
Tell nobody.
But like it's things like that. So I feel like it all goes back to who you're around and what you're coming up with, and who's raising you. Just like when we started it with, damn, you was reading books.
My mom,
like, what's going on?
My pops taught me a number of things. One of which was to improvise and learn everything you can. You know what I'm saying? Knowledge is power. He who holds the most knowledge holds the most power. But if it's not tempered with compassion and love, it's tyranny. You know what I'm saying?
Your pop taught you what was that, 3?
Yes.
Yo,
My pops is not typical, man.
This is the only kid that can be in the woods and he survived. He'd be fine.
Yes. You know what I'm saying? But
He came out the womb. He's
He's like, what do you do? What?
I'm going to tell you a story. This is how he taught me to improvise. One time we had no electricity, we had no lights, right? We had no gas. You know what I'm saying? And everybody was hungry. And my pops came through, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, yo, what you mean you ain't got no food? He reached in the cabinet, he was like, I got these ramen noodles, boy. I'm like, I can't cook them, I ain't got no fire. He's like, boy, slapped me upside the head. And I was like, let me show you something. Sure enough, put some water in the pot, put that shit on like 6 candles, and got that shit to boiling.
Built ready. He was ready.
Got that shit
boiling. I've been waiting about that.
boiling. It's like, and sure enough, I had me some soup.
So that's what your pops taught you.
He
right?
taught me
At
that.
3?
No, he taught me that at 3, 6. And like he enforced that, instilled that in me throughout life. Like always be ready to improvise. Always look for your exits. Always be aware of what's around you.
Not to go off subject, but I appreciate that lesson because a lot of times, in our family structure, a lot of things that we learn to improvise, or we get called as ghetto.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I always thought that was funny growing up because, you know, when you're in the household, you don't know what ghetto means.
Nah,
you know, make this shit happen.
Right.
Like, you need to eat,
make it work.
We need the fire. Okay, well, we need this, so we need to make it happen.
That's right.
So I just knew it as, well, I knew it as life. Like, okay, well, this is what we do. You know what I'm saying? But then you go out and step out into the world, and certain people call those things ghetto, or they try to shame you for going through it or learning this type of way. You know what I mean? And that's one of the key reasons why I feel like we need to have our own culture with our own cultural standards and define who we are as a people, as opposed to having other people define who we are. Because our culture represents what we went through. Right. So something as simple as improvising, like putting candles on to cook. You know what I'm saying? I ain't really have to go through that. I ain't going to. But it's not day.
I don't know, Kettle. What have you been? Can I call you that? You have any type of struggle, brother?
Listen.
What it did was it just instilled in me the value that, you know, no matter what, and unless you admit defeat, you are not. Keep going. You know what I'm saying? You always find where there's a will, there's way, and all that jazz, and all those hunky-dory sayings. Those type of things matter.
I've always said we was the best at doing the most with the least.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
I think that's another thing we lost too.
Ice soup, baby.
Oh yeah, convenience kills.
I'm not eating no ice soup. I said a cup of water. He said some outlandish things, and I can't just let everybody ramen out of thin air, ice soup, bro. I'm questioning. I'm questioning all y'all.
Fish sandwiches.
I wish I wanted to add. It's crazy how you was like, well, when you said we're the best at making the most out of things. So how do you put that? Because think about it when it comes to like making money, and think about it when it comes to making a living. Like the word hustle came from how we move. Know what I mean? And think about it. All right, cool. I'm not gonna go on the whole white supremacy thing and how it's like they had an advantage, even though that's the truth. And you got it's footage of like different coaches with the whole football thing going on in the NFL. You have coaches saying that, you know, and you have players saying that they're white and that they grew up not knowing certain things. They grew up just like having an extended hand, you know, and it's not their fault. They like, it's not our fault, but like, you know, like that's why it's hard to understand why my teammate is kneeling and I'm not. Because where he's from and how he came up, they live a whole different lifestyle, and there's a certain thing going on within them and the police that involves murder, and it's crazy, and that's why he's kneeling. But for me, this is just a game, and but he said I respect his reason. You know what I mean? And there's things like that going on, and now when it comes to making money, let's keep it a buck. Like that's why you have certain colleges. Like some people get mad, but I tell them, like, you know what I mean, like. All colleges, all schooling is the same. All curriculums aren't the same. All colleges aren't the same. That's why you have Ivy League, you know, schools in which most of the students' parents that go there, they're investing financially into those schools because they want their child to know how to run their business when they're not there. Right. You know, those are a stigma of the 400 families that run America. You know, when I say that, I mean not run, but like, you know, Walmart, Dollar General. Whatever they supply jobs to the masses, and those are jobs that we use to make a living for us. Right. I could be like you said, FedEx. FedEx is a family-owned business. You're working at FedEx. You're using them to feed yourself, pay your bills. You know what I mean? But then there's a certain cap that you can make. Because then you have working hourly for dollars. Then you have product via product and service. You know, and that's why I said the three bases for me, like the three bases. To build, and this is where the hustle mentality comes from. But for me, this is the news era that I'm in. All I needed to know is that to make a lot of money with no cap, money comes from people, and I'm either gonna sell a product, a service, property, or have parts of the property, or live off the land and charge people. That's the only 5 ways that you can make millions of billions of dollars. Everything else is going to be off the extent of exactly. You know what I mean? But that's a part of financial education that they're not teaching where I come from. But in Ivy League schools, in certain elementary schools, their kids just learn that at 4th grade. At 4th grade, they're teaching you what I just said just now. But we don't ever get that through fucking high school, college. We don't get that unless you know somebody that knows somebody, like shit like that. Because we're getting taught how to work for someone to keep the whole United. Because people forget. The United States is a corporation before a country. There's only 2 countries that are a corporation first, and the United States is one of them. You feel me? So why financial deficit is built off of money. So there's money, and this person not knowing how to live, and them thinking they should live like this.
There's money off of your insecurities and your ignorance.
Exactly.
And your social security number makes you a credit or debt in this country.
Just touching on that, the United States government is not a government itself; it's a corporation. And they capitalize on trust law. They use trust law to kind of. They kind of back us into a corner. We have to use their resources,
right?
And so because we're using their resources, they actually own a part of our what we give to the society. Yeah,
but you can borrow against it.
Every person born should get a check. Bro.
You actually can. There's a way. Do your research on trust law and being a secure party. Right. There's a lot that goes into exactly why you have to pay taxes and exactly why a cop can pull you over. If you ever had that question about why are they allowed to enforce certain these laws, it's because you signed on by your birth certificate, by your mother's application
and
for your birth certificate card. So your social security card is in essence a receipt of your birth certificate, and what it does, it gives them right to have dominion over what you do.
You know what else it is? It's an account number. It's your account number in the Federal Reserve.
Listen, this episode going to
baby card. You got that fit.
You got
that. Right. But that's why I said it's like the whole word of hustle. We invented that because at the end of the day, it's crazy how people don't know. Think about like hair, not for nothing. Like hair, women buying hair, that's their $1 billion industry. Dudes back on the streets 10 years ago was making bank. This one dude from Harlem went to China and made a whole company millions off that. You know what I mean? And they think about it nowadays, scammers. You know, it got to a point where there's a box where you can get somebody's information and you can make bread and you can break down between $30,000 $40,000. You know why? Because that's us kicking in the door differently from when we did in the 90s. Right. And now, exactly. And now think about it. To now stay relevant and to keep all that bread and the hustle now is knowing what's going to pop before somebody else. That's the hustle because that's what's going to feed you. Like for example, like I said with the whole scammers with the box, supply and demand. Now this is about to be a whole era for the next 10 years where they're going to be making smart cards now. Mm-hmm. Think about it, they got smart cars, they got smart boards in schools, they got smartphones. Steve Jobs revolutionized the way that we use telephones, and because we grew up in that era, we just think it's whatever. Right. Like nobody really knows that. You know what I mean? But there's a whole bunch of smart TVs. I got smart TV. I don't remember old one. That's what everybody else.
I do. Remember the box was?
Exactly. My kids are gonna be like, Dad, why does the TV have a box? Like it's crazy.
It's not a box. It's a booty.
It's the booty TV.
I remember black and white, baby.
Yo, see,
not that
black and white TVs.
Exactly.
You ain't shit like
now you probably remember aluminum foil on that antenna.
Hell yeah! Snack it, push it back this way, and then slam the top, and it worked. Slam the top.
It's shit like that because every ever has a changing point where a family's bloodline could be made. Think about it. 40 years ago, people are flipping houses now and making thousands. Cool, but 45 years ago, people was making millions. That's how Donald Trump flipped his dad's money from $20 million into $2 billion. You know what I mean?
We've been excluded from that whole industry and trade. Now, when it came to a lot of people have made their fortune off of buying property and selling property. But there was a point in time in history when we were denied the ability to own property. Doesn't that systematically put you at a disadvantage?
Exactly. What we talked about earlier.
We couldn't even apply for patents, and we created pretty much everything.
Right, you can go way back. Like we couldn't be like after the freedom happened, you know, sharecropping began. Sharecropping.
Oh boy.
Sharecropping began. Like, and that's kind of what we do now.
And think about it, even back then they had their own form of hustles to overcome that.
Yeah, they all group up and everything. And that's that's frowned upon. Right. The American dream is a 2-house home or a 4-house home picture.
So let's talk about the effects of the family structure. Because of some of the things that we went through in the past, how does that affect our family structure today? And before we get started, let's take a break real quick.
I'm about to go in because said some shit. So
cool. So let's go take a quick break real quick, and then when we come back in the next segment, we're going to talk about the effects on the family structure from the past, and we can also touch on the women's role in the family structure.
We got a couple special guests for that.
We do have a couple special guests. Just stay tuned, and when we come right back, get y'all with some real.
Word up.
Yeah.
I'd like you to tune in to Rebel Forever, the marketing and publishing company for the people, all about the people and with the people. Please check out the website, rebelforeverllc.com. Please follow us on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, whatever it may be. Please follow us if you want all the news, all the information, or you just want to hear the real. Rebel Forever is here for you.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Black Codes. I want to welcome two of our very special guests today. We've got Shakira and Vanillas. You know what I'm saying? Because one of the biggest knocks on us is we haven't had a female voice on here. So, female voice, y'all. But, you know, what we wanted to touch on today was, first and foremost, the black family structure. Mm-hmm. You know, you have children.
Yes, I have one daughter.
You have a daughter. Mm-hmm. Okay. And how do you raise your daughter in these environs, in these times when, you know, everything is kind of crazy?
It's definitely hard. Mm-hmm. But I am proud of myself of how I'm raising her, because everything that is surrounding her is like, it's an image of herself. Right. And that's I know we were talking about the dolls earlier. Mm-hmm. And the reason for a doll in the first place is it's supposed to be a reflection of you. Right. And I did get into a conversation with one of my friends who has a daughter. She had a white doll, and I said, well, you can't identify with that doll because it doesn't look like you. So now you idolize this other woman, this figure with long hair and white skin, and you want to be that way. So I definitely raise her in a way where everything around her is an image of herself. I raise her off natural foods. I plan on homeschooling. I mean, it's really tough, especially being, you know, alone. Okay. So in this society that, you know, we live in, it's a lot of pressure.
Let me ask you, if you say you're raising her alone, as what has been well documented, like I dated a young lady who has a daughter, and I took her daughter on as my own. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Do you find that that's not something that's the guys are willing to do? And you know what I mean, towards you, you know, because you seem you're a beautiful young lady. You seem barely intelligent, so why you should have to do that alone?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard, you know, because like you mean like finding someone on the same level. Yeah. Like it's especially out here, it's different, you know. So it's like there's certain amount that I'm gonna, like, you know, not say tolerate, but you know, that I look for in a man. Like, and I'm not saying like I'm gonna define who you should be, but just finding
a set of standards.
Yeah. So it's.
I'm glad you said it.
Yes. I'm not like pick, like, oh my God, like I have this high level, but you know, there's a certain level that I would like to connect on with, you know, my partner.
That's honestly, I was just listening to your answers and your questions. That's honestly interesting. And some people have different views, you know, without children. Like, I feel like you've been given a challenge. So to me, in a way, I don't want to call it practice. Like, don't look at it as anything. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is, you're living that situation. Mm-hmm. The only reason why I'm asking it this way, because you happen to be a woman without children, and you happen to be a woman with children. Well, do your views match up? Because I'm just before you answer that question. Right now, one of these big things is little girls have to be either equal or better. I see much more sold on better than boys. Mm-hmm. I feel like boys get the cool hero concept of life. You get the princess concept of life. You know, we have to save you. How do you guys go about dealing with that in society?
Well, there's a quote that she actually put me on. It says, "It takes a village." So when you're raising a kid, you know, it's not just the mother and father. Right. You know, you have grandparents, you have aunts, uncles, you have friends. You know, we just went to Kalahari, and you know, you can pick up when, you know, she's feeling overwhelmed. I'm like, okay, let me grab her and bring her over here for a minute so she can collect herself. You know what I mean? It's something that I feel like is very important, especially when there isn't a male figure in the home.
Do you find it? So you help her out, you know what I'm saying?
Occasionally, when we hang out.
Yeah, when we hang out, yeah.
You do your part. right? You know what I'm saying? As much as you can.
As much as I'm able to, you know, I'm the youngest, so usually I'm on the other side of that. You know, when I was younger, especially, you know, the one being cared for. So it's also a challenge for me. You know, she's a very great person. We connected instantly when we met. So it's like, you know, I've never had a good friend with a kid. Right. So you know, it's a challenge for me to get to, you know, be good around kids, how to take care of kids. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a challenge for both of us.
Does it influence your ideas about family and how they should be?
Yes and no. I mean, we're nowadays, especially, you know, you have the single black mother. You know what I mean? Is one of the big stereotypes against black women. You know. Do I think it's possible to raise a kid as a single black mother? Yes. I mean, black women are doing it every day, you know what I mean? But obviously it's not ideal. Right. So I mean, it's very complex. I mean,
yeah, and we won't, and then to touch on single mother, like, we've raised children single as single mothers, but are we doing it adequately? You know what I mean? Like, are we? Because you're gonna make mistakes when you're trying to do everything. Okay, there are certain times where you can feel overwhelmed, or you're at work and I have to put my daughter in daycare. Someone else is with her more than I am during the week or when I'm at work. So it's
Let me ask you this: do you think it would be more difficult if you had a son instead of a daughter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel that male children need black males to raise them totally. Not, you know, of course they need their mom, but we need more black fathers for the sons, because he can't identify with me. I can't teach him how to be a man. Right. So if I'm raising him alone, he's going to have. Not saying he's going to be gay, but he is going to have feminine ways. Like, for example, let's say, and this is just a little analogy. Let's say you have to go to work, and your mom, she has to drop you off at like 9:00, but your shift don't start till 11, and you're pouting like, oh, well, I got to do that. But instead, just walk around and sit there and wait. But instead, where you have a feminine way about yourself, where you can't sit there and wait and just take the situation for what it is. I know it was a small analogy. Like,
no, but I mean, so I guess my question is: are we equating impatience with a female?
No, it's not. It's not impatience. It's not. It has nothing to do with like impatience. It's just. I'm trying to figure out how to describe it. I really like for you to like picture what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess
so. Like female traits, as in like, you know, you see on Instagram, on social media nowadays, of men twerking and, you know, doing all, like, you know, it's.
Wait, that's a thing.
Oh yeah!
Oh yes, it's definitely a
if
thing.
You're following certain pages and things like that, it's definitely
there's a lot of influence, and especially with media, because you guys we all as a people right now, we are born in the age of media.
It's right there.
Your son may not know this today, but it's gonna know it tomorrow. Or your daughter knows this today, and not know it tomorrow. Things are getting younger and younger. Children are raising children, is what I like to call it.
Yes,
and that doesn't even just depict the idea of a young person. It's the mind.
Exactly.
I feel like you said, people are raising your children, even the idea of a father figure, and not understanding the amount of power or who you are is an effect. And I think people have lost that grip on reality. Like, everything you do has some type of effect. If I throw trash out the window, that trash might kill a whale somehow by rolling through dirt. That dirt turns into this and that and that and that and that. And I don't even think about that. I just think of it, it's just a tiny piece of paper. Yeah. But it's beyond that thought. When children today, they are fast. And I'm not going to say it. I think they're faster than us. You may have I didn't get a cell phone till like 14 years old. You know what I'm saying? And then there's children that know how to work an iPhone by 3, 12. I'm saying 1 years old, 2 years old, and it's just like, yo, how are you? You can do this? You
didn't have
iPhones when I was 14, so there's that.
You got it. That's what I'm saying. So even in a way, like these kids are way faster than you.
Oh hell,
they faster than me.
Technologically advanced, like.
And that's the thing. I think technology is raising the children, and I feel like that's why we're so lost in who we are. Because how can you really identify dolls? Is once again the word I like to use is simplicity. Yeah. Dolls is the simplest form of reflection. But when I go on the internet and I see a child, let's say a child in India that's rich, and I'm also taught that children in India are poor,
right?
Or but they're prettier than me, or their hair is nicer. They're just like, yo, how can I compete with that? I was looking at a doll yesterday.
You know something funny about dolls, and I guess this might just be me. I wouldn't buy my daughter a doll because I guess in my head that fosters the idea of having a baby.
Yes.
And,
yes.
So you kind of mother it, and then automatically in the subconscious of your mind, you want to have a baby.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have recently walked down a toy aisle, but you got baby dolls. You have.
Oh no! I remember when babies used to start peeing
ovens
and hey yo, don't be talking bad about the Easy Bake Oven.
Oh yeah.
I'm just
I try to keep quiet on it. I'm like,
oh no, just an example. But if you walk down like a toy aisle, you see the toys for girls versus the toys for women.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what are the differences? Like,
toys for women tend to just vibrate.
Okay.
It's a thing. Goddamn Frank. We're supposed to like
toys for women versus toys for adults. I mean, for children.
But for children.
But you're right.
Okay,
no, you're right.
But like this, you can see the differences. You have action figures and like toy cars and you know what I mean.
So let me ask you something. Did you see Wonder Woman?
I have not.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie to you. I did, and I felt that it was very, very good as far as for women empowerment. Like I'm a comic book geek, pure and plain. But I think that movie represented the idea that a woman could be beautiful and strong and handle the problem, and she doesn't need a man to back her up. You know what I'm saying? Which is a great idea. But that also kind of puts into the idea that, well, you don't need men.
Yeah, it's like that independent, I can do everything on my own type of thing.
See, I think that's another form of arrogance, too, that I can do everything by myself because, like, people only look at it as, men are the other half or something like that. But then it also takes away the idea that it takes a village. So, to me being a man, I feel like I love children. But one of the stereotypes of a man is like our ignorance, our bruteness. We have no care in the world. That's why fathers walk away from children every day.
I don't even think they do that for ignorance. I think that's more just fear.
Or it's engineered in our community only. Ooh. We are in statistic. If you want a statistic, we are the highest group to have single women headed up households. Right. So, but why is that? So first, if you want to, the art of war, if you look at the art of war, you have to destroy the male in order to destroy the nation.
Clap it up. Clap it up. Clap it up. Clap it up. Good job. Clap it up. I appreciate that. So let me ask you something. In that instance, then what do you think is the woman's role in the black family structure?
As the woman's role,
all right. Let me say it like this then. Since we have that high number of percentage of women as single mothers, right? How do you foster a relationship with another man between and still maintain your
independence?
Not even your independence, your power, your independence. Like, is that possible? Like, could you date a guy that doesn't want kids, or rather, let me say it like this: could you date a guy that is there for you all the time and he takes care of you and your kids? Is that something you would look for?
Yeah, of course. All right.
Now, if the guy doesn't want kids, right? Is he still viable to be in a relationship with?
No, because not to say the whole purpose of life, but one of the purposes of life is to create. Like, sex is a creation. So if we're not having children and we're together, what are we doing? We are actually, I'm not saying it's fully destructive, but the society that we live in, we do overly do that that art, which I like to call it, and without creating life. So I couldn't be with a man who wouldn't want children, because it just would, to me, would be a meaningless partnership.
Okay. And with that level of independence, do you feel like is there such a thing as being too independent?
I think so.
No.
Yeah.
I think especially with Black women, this independence thing has been pushed on us, and it came with the whole women's liberation movement.
Right.
Okay, we got caught up in that. That was for white women. Right. Okay, that was for white women to get independence from their men, because they were being held down from jobs and ways to express themselves. Right. Our first fight was human rights. Right. So we became a part of this movement, and now we want independence. We want to be head of companies, and and then we won't date a man who makes less than us, you know. So we look at men as objects now, instead of a provider, a husband, a father, a partner. You know, so that's what women. That's the first step. One of the first steps that we should take as women is to nurture our men. Right. Let them know that we're here, because we feed off of each other's energies. So if we're not nurturing them, then everything is in balance, and it's vice versa as well.
But now you have a different idea.
Well, I don't feel like it's wrong that women want to chase careers. Right. I feel like the problem within that scenario lies within the system itself. You take a look at paid leave, men versus women, and how that whole system is set up. You know, it's not set up for a woman to, you know, have kids and be very successful. You know, it puts a woman in a position where you have to choose one or the other. You know, and if you are, you know, for, you know, women's liberation, I don't need a man, you know, you're putting yourself in a position where, you know, your masculine energy is overpowering your feminine energy. You know what I mean? There's a balance that you have to maintain, you know. So when you're in this position, a lot of people, you know, I want to make money, got to chase that paper, I'm going to go with the career. I don't need a man. I don't need, you know, if I have kids, I don't need a man. I can pay for everything myself if I got a career, you know, so.
But it's more than monetary when it comes to raising kids. It's a spiritual aspect. It's a mental aspect.
Unfortunately, right now, it is a monetary aspect.
I mean, yeah.
You know, it was never like that. Right. You know what I mean?
With the whole destruction of the Black family, you know, we're losing those types of aspects, you know what I mean, through media, through all these things that are being pushed upon us. You know, we're losing that spiritual aspect of just sex within itself, the act of sex.
And WIC and all that, and welfare is designed to keep women. Think about it. I'm a single man, right? If I apply for stamps, I'm going to get pittance.
Yeah.
A single woman with a child, please forget about it. You're going to get the mother load. You know what I'm saying? But I guarantee you, the minute you get a boyfriend or a husband, your shit going to be cut off. You know what I'm saying? Because it was designed to keep us apart.
Out. Exactly.
But that thing right there, like that's a system designed in fear. Because if you don't, all that, we're way too dependent. There's that balance of independence is definitely a super scale on opposite levels.
Okay.
Because we've become dependent on the government to feed us. We've become dependent on the government to teach us. We've become dependent on the government to watch us. Right. And then when you don't realize it, it's like, what do I do? Because like it is monetary.
Working 9 to 5.
9 to 5 every day. You got Now, I don't want to get it twisted. Ain't nothing wrong with daycares or anything of the sort,
right.
Because those are instilled to help us. But what kind of people run those daycares? Sometimes
not the very good people.
And the stress on the parent alone. Like now, I'm gonna miss my son or daughter if they at daycare. It's just like, that's something, and there's something to think about because it's not like it's help. It's hard because daycare costs money.
That's what I'm saying. It takes a village. I know personally when I was growing up, kind of a different background. My parents weren't born in this country, so when we moved out here we live not here, but when we moved out here, we didn't really know anyone, you know. We just knew whoever, like, we was working with that spoke our language, you know what I mean, that believed in the same thing. So, you know, they was taking care of us, you know, on their day off, you know, because my parents didn't trust putting me or my brothers in, you know, in a daycare. So there's different type of things to that. Nowadays, you know, everyone's trying to work, everyone's trying to chase papers, so you don't have that aspect where, you know, you call up one of your friends like, yo, I'm off today, can you, or I'm working today, you know, are you off? Can you look after my kid? You know, now every day everyone's working 9 to 5s, basically.
Or even beyond that, I think a part of that is the fear that, okay, am I calling this person? Are they going to do something to my child?
Exactly.
We don't have any trust or faith in each other anymore. Like when I came up, everybody on the block was your parent. You know
yes, because when you have a child, it's not just your child.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And they made sure that we were safe. You know, if anything happened, my parents got a phone call. They knew each other. You know what I'm saying? My parents knew my friends' parents. But what I mean is, but what I mean is, we had that sense of community. It was a village. You know what I'm saying? House Queens. Like, I know if I went to Dolly's, I may not have had no bread in my pocket, but I know I can get me some food to last week. And my moms will hit Dolly back when she had it, and Dolly ain't had no problem with that. You know what I'm saying?
Question.
Right.
I think. Well, I just ran into the situation. I think the way we live now, we can't be taught nothing. We don't want to listen to nothing, and we ain't gonna hear you because we have become so independent. So I know you didn't ask me, Frank, but, you know, is there such thing as too independent? I think so. Because, like,
well, I'm going to let you finish. Go ahead.
You sure? You can Taylor Swift is Kanye right now.
No.
You don't let me be sure? I'm going to continue. But it's your chance.
No, go ahead, man.
All right. So, like, being too independent, you start forgetting about everything around you. So how... If it takes a village, or if you have your brother, your sister, your mother, your grandma, whomever, you stop thinking so much about them. You put everything on yourself, and you don't know how much you actually put on yourself, and you crush under your own weight. Because why? You don't know how much stress you're under. So every day, you don't even notice if you've yelled at your child. You don't even notice if you've even told your child you love them. But it's not because you dislike them. It's because the type of day we have, the system that we put in place for ourselves. You do not trust a neighbor, so then you may not even realize how much you talk about that neighbor in a hateful way.
And your children pick up on that and feel and carry those emotions and those thoughts out into the world. And when they see that neighbor, it's automatically stay away from me. Don't touch me.
I'll call my mom.
And then these young mothers, you know what I'm saying, want to go out and fight or don't touch my kid. Who are you? You know,
they go to the school and like. Now there are people who really take this in the wrong place. Like they a different power, because when you're independent, you don't think about stuff. You don't really have cares. Like when you're so independent, you don't really care how it affects, because there's some teachers in school that might, when they did, hit your child for no reason, but they might be having a different bad day. Your child may have needed discipline, but their day of their car not starting now is on that child. Your child doesn't understand.
It's that build-up.
The build-up, which destroys communication. Once you destroy communication, then you break down the family. Without any communication, nobody understands anything, even the child. And the child is absorbing all that like a sponge. So no matter, even the things you don't do, your body language, the child. I remember I talked to kids, like even talking to kids today, even teaching kids something. They won't even look at me with respect, especially with age, because age is not seen with. Intelligence isn't seen with age.
With respect. Intelligence is a positive because the only image.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, it's people don't look. They just look at your age,
Like,
that's true. And it's just like, bro, you 20, or you the same age as me. What can you teach me? So therefore, we've taken out that substance out of each other. You can't even teach me nothing. I can only learn from the older generation, and the older generation has given up on the younger generation. So if I only learn from the older generation and they've given up on me, where am I in life? And
I feel like to give up.
Well, a lot of them haven't given up. A lot of them. See, that's the thing. We expect so much from the older generation. We have to remember that we're next. Okay, we're the voice now. So they're getting older. Okay, I know you know Dr. Sabi passed. His sister passed. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who wrote the ISIS papers. So she passed. So we have to take that responsibility, because we're next. We have to make sure that our children are nourished and nurtured correctly. And it's good that you brought that up with the peer, like looking at each other like that, because when I used to hold the meetings, I made sure it was a team. I made sure everyone participated instead of me just up here talking, lecturing. I don't want to be a lecturer. I want all of us to learn from each other. Right. Okay, because I know how some people feel. They be like, yeah, that's what it's called. Each one teach one. Ooh. I don't want you to feel like, oh, you know more than me. No, I know some people, they may have that feeling. So I make sure everybody.
Well, maybe you do. I think people need to understand that too.
A mark of true intelligence is being able to recognize when you don't know everything.
Right, right.
You need to shut the fuck up and listen. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Shut that shit and listen.
Mm-hmm. You know that's very true because, it definitely depends on the individual, Do you have humility? Can you accept when you're wrong? You know what I mean? Because I was probably one of the first members to join up with her group. I didn't know I didn't know anything. You know what I mean? Like I had some idea of what certain things were, but you have to be able to sit down and look at someone else as a teacher, whether they're younger than you, whether they're your age. You know what I mean? Whether you're a different sex, whatever, you know what I mean?
It's something to learn from everything, right? And even nature. I'm big on the tree and stuff.
I'm very I'm not nature. Well, maybe nature path, tree hugger type of thing. You
usually call vegans tree huggers. Not get it wrong.
You should hug a damn tree.
Well, first of all,
okay, wait. No, I'm sorry. I'm a Taylor Swift right here. Okay.
Is it? All right, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay, so this is just a personal story, right? I was in Costa Rica doing a study abroad my last year of undergrad, and we only had class at a certain time, so I'm sitting there. I'm like, what do I want to do for the day? I'm like, okay, let me go hiking. It's been a while since I've been out in nature, right? So I'm walking out in nature, and sometimes there's a narrow path, there's a wide path. So I'm like, touching trees, touching rocks, whatever. And it was just a random moment where I touched a tree and it had thorns on it, right? Like a rose, whatever. And you're scared, I was touching it and I'm like, wait, what was that? And I looked at it and it had thorns, and I don't know if this was just me being over analytical or what. And I sat there for a good minute, what did it take for that specific plant to grow their thorns? You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit under the influence of certain, certain things. So,
right though.
I understand.
Plants understand plants. That's all I'm saying.
It was just a moment of self-reflection because I wasn't bleeding or anything, but it was enough of a shock for me to be taken aback. Right. You know what I mean? So I sit there staring at the plant, thinking if this was another person, you're walking down the street, in New York, and maybe you bump into someone by accident, or you just make eye contact, and automatically that other person puts up their defense. Right. You know what I mean? They're pushing against you. They have their thorns. You know what I mean? It's what did it take for this other person to develop this defense mechanism? You know what I mean? So I feel like that's another aspect that we have to look at also, because like you were saying, that buildup of stress, of anger, frustration, you end up taking out on other people to make yourself feel better.
So women, our black women, for our family structure, are the nurturers. You know what I'm saying? Do you think it's natural to be a breadwinner? Is that okay?
It's not. Okay, my person, it's not even a personal opinion. It's just a matter of how we were designed to bring balance to each other. It's not natural for women to be the breadwinner. Right. What's natural, and I could say it because I'm a woman. What's natural for a woman, she needs to be a true mother. Okay, it was no job. See, it was no job thousands of years ago. So what career are we chasing?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Money is not real. So what are we chasing?
Women played a role in their society and did certain things. But I understand what you mean.
Right.
But that's a good point. That's all.
Everything is artificial now. Right. You know what I mean? So, and if you look at the root word of career, it means war. So we're going to chase wars. I mean, see, now it's breaking down language.
Break that down for us, please.
Yes.
Break that down.
Yes. So,
career, the root word of that is.
But we also have to work on that because chasing careers, whatever. But for what I want to do, like I'm very in tune with nature. I like to garden. I like to grow food. So like, what can I study in a university to help me be in the place where I see myself being in the future? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So naturally for me, it was nutrition. You get like the whole science behind it and whatever. But to be able to just be in a place where like, okay, like, is this a career? Is it what I want to do? It's very complicated, especially like she was saying. It's everything now is artificial, so it's like you have to be able to navigate the system in order to go to where you want to go.
Must understand the system that we're in place of.
So speaking of that, then, how do we break down these stereotypes about black women that are presently in place? Whatever it may be,
attitude.
Yeah. Y'all don't want aggressive. A man. You're aggressive. You're angry. That's really all there kind of is, Yeah, you're just fit to be unwed mothers. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you feel about it? Like, please explain that to me. How that makes you feel?
It's upsetting.
Yeah, sometimes.
Depending.
I mean, I don't really get upset anymore. Okay. I think I try to think rationally a lot on certain, especially that topic, because this is that again. This was created through racism, white supremacy. You had the mean, mammy type of woman, always angry at the whole family, making sure that everything gets done. So this whole image of women, especially black women, was created so we can be separate and we can be at war and odds with each other. And instead of fighting the real war, we're at war with each other. So and I mean, I'm as far as you mean like to destroy, as far as diminish it.
Like, listen, let me say this.
See, we only act like this because we lack knowledge of ourselves.
Right. Well,
so if you obtain more knowledge of self, you won't have girls out there twerking. You won't have girls out there
doing it for the dick challenge.
I'm doing it for the dick challenge. You know what I mean? I mean, recently Erykah Badu actually did the for the dick challenge.
I saw her do. I saw Issa Rae and
I was very shocked. Especially a woman of her caliber to do something like that. But I think the conscious community kind of gets judged more than the average person.
It's a pressure.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be that way. Because we're just at the end of the day we're just humans. And there's no like someone said, she doesn't dance to the beat of your drum. Right. So she could be a free spirit if she wants to. You know what I mean?
I'm just alley-oop that.
Yeah.
One of those things about this is what we have done. This is the answer. And I feel like people have forgot that there was a question in the beginning. Like, who are the black women? And this is what we've done to our women, the destruction of even women. Like, but black women especially, people forget, let's not even bring it back too crazy. Let's just talk about slavery. You think that they wasn't getting done dirty? Like, come on now. Like, do you not expect if I was a slave and I'm out there getting beat, I'm out there in the sun and all that, like, you don't think that they should be just as tough?
They certainly
so it's just so like why those stereotypes have torn down the black nation, like, oh, she's aggressive, she's this, she better be
right.
Shoot, do you want to end up back in the same situation again? Not saying that it will be, but people don't even know.
But we what do you mean the same situation? Because we are
slavery. Because the truth is, without y'all, look, without black women, without us following black women and bigging up black women, we will wind up in the same place we were. Because the truth is, we go where y'all go.
Well, what's the same place we were?
Back in bondage.
Well, I'll say we are. I mean, we're still in bondage. It's just that there's no physical change.
They gave us a car.
You know what I mean? Like, we still don't see. That's the thing. We think, oh, we're free. Slavery is over, but we're still.
It's a new slavery.
Yeah, it's indirect, and the thing is, we don't. The problem is we don't really fully understand the racism, white supremacy. Racism is a system that is to control someone's destiny. Right. All right, it controls every area of your life. Every time you wake up, you're experiencing racism, white supremacy. Right. Even a baby is experiencing racism, white supremacy. Sorry, when you go to get some cereal. Right. Who's on the box? A white baby. See, people are like, oh, this is just too much for me. But we have to understand, we have to look at things in a deeper
subtle
analysis. Exactly. So, but that's the thing. We have to really, the goal is to really sit down, and this is great what we're doing, really sit down and dissect of what's going on so we can destroy this entire system, because it starts with us. We're begging people for rights. Right. You don't even know what you're fighting for. Exactly. It starts with you. Change starts with you. And the first thing we should do is have a deep level of self-respect. Right. You know, if you don't respect yourself, things around you, we litter, we call our women bitches and hoes. You know, we look at our men like, you know, you just another nigga, I don't need you just to make a baby, like as if you can do everything by yourself. Like so that's definitely the goal, to really fully understand racism.
And I just want to build off of that in terms of like relations between the black man and black woman. I only have two things. One, we need to stop playing the Pain Olympics. I call it the Pain Olympics just because we're always trying to outdo each other and how much pain we felt throughout history. You know what I mean? Whether it's slavery, pre-slavery, whatever. We just need to nip it in the butt, because at the end of the day, like, we're in it together. Right. You know what I mean? And number two, you guys were talking about it earlier, the book, The Four Agreements. One of the other agreements, I have 2 copies of it actually, in English and Spanish, but there's another agreement on there, is to never make assumptions. You know what I mean? You say you walk in down the street or in a grocery store or wherever, you know, you're constantly making assumptions based off what you see around you, based off your environment. So if you are in a public area and you see a black woman with her kids running amok, doing whatever, you're making assumptions about that black woman. You know, or if you see like a group of guys, you know, they got drinks or whatever, they're hanging around, or, you know, you're making assumptions about that group of black men, you know, so we need to stop making assumptions about pretty much everything. I mean, I don't know if you guys have any more to build on that, but...
No, but I touch on your point about making assumptions. It's hard for us to not make assumptions when every single day we're presented with a certain prejudice, a prejudgment of views. So we're introduced to different certain cultures, we're introduced to different subcultures even by the media and news. So that directs where our prejudgment go. Now, we could talk about not to make assumptions or not to be prejudiced, but it's in our nature to assess a situation as we walk into it. And rightfully so, there should be a distinction between what our assumptions are and what we have been, you know, predisposed to, and create an area where we can just be in this period of not knowing. Like, we could be in a situation where we just don't know. We could just assume, like, you just see and observe. But because of the system we live in, they always are shooting at us stereotypes, prejudices. Anything that impacts your thinking coming into a situation. It's a very real thing. So when you walk into these type of situations, scenarios, how do you stop yourself from prejudging? How do you stop yourself from just accepting what's already been taught to you?
It's a process, you know. Personally, I like to meditate a lot. So it's being able to stop your thoughts from flowing. You know, our brains were constantly flowing with different thoughts. You know, one second I'm thinking about, you know, that bottle of water over there. The next I'm thinking about what I'm going to eat when I get home. You know what I mean? So we constantly have a flow of thoughts. So when you meditate, you're training yourself to A, either slow down or stop your flow of thoughts, and B, training yourself to kind of direct your thoughts. You know what I mean? So it's not something you can do within, you know, a couple of days or a couple of weeks or a couple of months, depending on the person, a couple of years. You know what I mean?
A tree isn't a tree.
It's just like how we look at people, or how other people view us. Is that the question? How other people view us? So in that sense, it's hard for another culture to view you as a human when you're constantly being played on TV as a thug. You're being shot down in the street like you're an animal. Before you destroy a person, you have to diminish. You have to their image, destroy their whole character, just demonize. Exactly. So, and then people will be what's the word I'm looking for? they would be less caring if you were killed, or it would just be normal. Oh, another brother shot down.
So we're desensitized.
That's the word I was exactly. And we're desensitized too. We're our own people. So what do you think other people are thinking?
That's the same.
And then they just destroyed our culture. And when even these museums, you go to, I forgot that new museum in Washington or something.
Okay, I know.
You go to the museum. And this is supposed to be African history.
Right, the Black History Museum.
You go on the first floor, it's Michael Jordan, it's Oprah, it's Beyonce, and then you go on the second floor, first floor is slavery, right? This is where our history starts, according to them. And now they're playing it for the world. So the first floor is slavery. Right. We made our way to Oprah and Beyonce and Michael Jordan. I think the top floor, is like Michael Jackson and stuff like that. Then you go into the cafeteria, it's mac and cheese, it's barbecue. This is our culture. I will tell you, but this is what they made our culture. Now everyone sees this as us. What do you think they're going to think about us?
Just before you, I'm sorry. Yeah. But just to bring it all, because that's interesting. Because I was talking about the way people are painted, and people don't understand. That's an issue. And when you are not understanding oneself, you cannot understand anybody.
The brain automatically stores image.
Everything. And it's even if it's in your subconscious.
Hitler used it.
And he understood. And he will break it out of you. And he will break it. So that's the issue. This is where we need to start. In order to restart something, that's your foundation. So to grow, just like we need to grow plants, you need to reset that nice foundation, the right dirt, the right knowledge to understand everything.
And especially to go off of that, we have to overstand our knowledge of who we were before slavery, because you go to high school, take U.S. history all 12 years, and where do they always start Black history?
Slavery.
Yes.
Slavery, killing off the Indians, West Indians, all this other stuff. Who were we before?
Right.
If you teach a nation your version of their starting point, how are they going to grow up? They're already starting life, when after a certain amount of years, they're already starting off with this mentality that you were nothing, but a slave.
Be happy.
You should be thankful for where you are. You should be happy that you have a 9-to-5. You should be happy that, you can drive a 2011 Buick or whatever type of car. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think that's where we need to start, is with the knowledge of self.
I'll give you a good place to start with your knowledge of self. Have any of you ever heard of the Great Blacks and Wax Museum in Baltimore, Maryland?
I've heard of it, but I've never...
It is a beautiful place, and the very first thing you see when you walk in, if it's still there, honestly, but the first thing you see when you walk in is a big-ass wax statue of Hannibal riding an elephant. The first thing you see as you walk in is just Hannibal atop an elephant with a spear, chilling. And it's very empowering, you know what I mean? But I just want to take the time to give you that, a little knowledge of self, you know what I'm saying? Find out something, because there is a real ill slave ship in there, but it shows you more than that.
But even, and to kind of go off of that, we were watching Hidden Colors the other day, the first one, and, there was a scene, I forgot who was talking in the scene, but, they were describing how all these archaeologists were in one of the pyramids, and, I don't remember the names, excuse me, but if you ever watch Hidden Colors, you'll know what I'm talking about, but...
Where Richard Pryor, he actually had a show in the 70s, and he did a skit where it was like Egypt, right? So then he's making jokes in Hidden Colors. He's like, oh, he looked like me, that so they had shut it down right after he did that, because most of the people in the pyramids looked like us. They were melanated people. So that was they were saying it was just a shutdown on the information itself. So we wouldn't know that we built those pyramids. We were here before the first European was even on the face of the planet.
And we did not have Jewish slaves, just that still be understood. Egypt, it has been proven Jews have not been in Egypt. I'm sorry, Jews were not slaves in Egypt.
Well, all right.
But Jews are Semites.
Fake Jews or real Jews?
Right. Hold on. I'm going to say Jews are Semites.
No. We're gonna have to save that one for the next episode.
I'm just saying, real Jews are the fake
Vanillas.
Vanillas.
Wow. Let's do it up. Y'all have to save that one for the next one. Y'all have to come back. Y'all have to come back.
I can go out for that.
Definitely. You have to come back, and we'll continue this. But I want to thank you, ladies, for coming by. We appreciate you, and you know what I'm saying. We just thank you so much for enlightening folk, and shout out to y'all, man. We appreciate y'all.
Of course, thank you. We appreciate you.
And thank you. We are Foundation 101, and these are the Black Codes.
Peace.
Like God, we're gonna sign off. God.
Spirituality. I love my people and study the adversary. A track record of lies and political tyranny. Sin rooted in ideology. 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 Sin rooted in